Hi, I'm Jay Bonner, and this is video 9, I Cried. To give you a little bit of background as to who I am, I'm a professional land surveyor by trade, and I volunteer my time with my church and with the community. I have had the great privilege to serve with the Department of Juvenile Justice as a volunteer, and over a decade I've spent time with the Department of Juvenile Justice, and actually had the great privilege of being the chair of the Circuit 15 Juvenile Justice Board. I was also a part of the launching of the Faith Initiative within the Department of Juvenile Justice, and had the great privilege of meeting with the secretary as the chair, the secretary of the Department of Juvenile Justice, who was a Baptist preacher at the time, and had the great privilege of giving him the suggestion that the greatest thing that he could accomplish during his term as secretary would be to get chaplains in our juvenile facilities. And lo and behold, 3 years later, we had chaplains. I've had the opportunity to work with the school district and developing a alternative to suspension program, and also was able to lobby the state of Florida to secure some funding that was necessary to bring a classroom portable into our detention center here at Palm Beach County. So I've been involved and engaged with the Department of Juvenile Justice for a while, until I got called to run for Congress. One of the things that I learned is that the youth that are in the Department of Juvenile Justice more than likely are there because they're victims of some sort, either economic, environmental, social, some kind of trauma, or something that has triggered their need to be in the Department of Juvenile Justice, a failure of us as a society and a culture. And a lot of us, well, even myself personally, prior to getting involved, I really didn't understand the dynamics and why do kids actually commit crime. And personally speaking, they're like you and I, they would rather not. But circumstances lead them to commit crime, and in doing so, and they end up in the Department of Juvenile Justice. I reached a point in the DJJ system that I knew too much. I knew too much of the victimization, human trafficking, sex crimes, the things that you don't normally end up hearing on the news. And I would find myself waking up in the middle of the night, and I'd be crying. And I came to recognize and ask the Lord, what's going on? And what I came to recognize is that maybe God just needed somebody at that time to be crying for these children. So in the course of this run, and running for Congress, I separated myself from the Department of Juvenile Justice, and God focused me on what it was necessary for me to learn to run for Congress, and until Monday this week. And I had a meeting with one of our state representatives and with members within our church and other community churches about the needs that we have for our children in the DCF system, Department of Children and Family system. And primarily adoption. At the state representative that we met with, his focus is on adoption, and so he was wanting some information about adoption. So I had the great privilege of facilitating a meeting and putting a meeting together on Monday. And lo and behold, the stories, the horror stories came out again, and about children, and the how children are the victims of our failure as a society and as a culture. And so I began to cry again. And I thought I was, well, it's not that I thought I was, it's just that, you know, you get removed from it and involved, engaged in what it takes to run for office, that I'd forgotten the pain and the suffering. And this rekindled my heart for the children. So I just needed to share that with you so that you would recognize that there is a real purpose, and the real solution is Jesus Christ. And even in the court system, when we were talking to judges and dealing with them, it's interesting that they knew that the things that they were doing weren't going to end up working for the kids. They knew that several of them knew and had relationships with Jesus Christ, and they knew that the only solution was Christ. But they couldn't do anything with it because the current justice system has purpose to remove God from our country. And so, hopefully through this run, God will use me to wake up our society and culture, come to recognize that there is a God, He is the Creator, our rights come from Him, and that the Bible is the real message of how we should live our lives. I mean, so I don't know what to do. I just follow in His obedience and His footsteps, and He guides me, and here I am, back to where I'm crying for kids again. So I'm going to continue this run, continue this direction, and we'll see where the Lord leads. May God bless you, and may God bless America.